vnprc. I run a BitDevs in North Carolina. I'm a Bitcoin and Ecash enthusiast. And I've got a proposal up here for a new kind of mining pool that trades mining shares as Ecash tokens. So, but first let's talk about the why. Let's talk about the state of Bitcoin mining. I've got some scary statistics up here. You've probably seen this before if you're paying attention. 80% of blocks are mined by 4 large pools. 47% of mining rewards by hashrate are flowing to the same custodian. And 37% of hashrate is mining on the same block templates. This is like super scary stuff. Clearly, Bitcoin mining is under significant pressure to centralize. But why is this a problem? Well, the big reason is that the pools control block template production, which means that they can censor transactions. This is antithetical to the entire point of Bitcoin. So we obviously don't like this. But I actually have 2 other reasons that I think are underappreciated in the Bitcoin community. The pools control all newly mined Bitcoin outputs. And this is kind of a tragedy because UTXOs with no history are a pristine privacy asset. And what do the mining pools do with it? They like roll it up into their custodial wallets and show off how much money they have. They just waste this privacy asset. It's just a tragedy to a privacy-minded Bitcoiner like me. I would like to do something to fix this. Also, another, I think, underappreciated risk is that these pools have outsized influence in Bitcoin consensus changes. So anytime we want to activate a soft fork, the block producers get to essentially vote on whether they well, there's different ways to characterize this, but they get a vote on the soft fork activation. And the reason for this is because whenever we want to constrict the set of rules, the consensus rules to produce Bitcoin blocks, we want very good assurances from the block producers that they're going to run those new, more constrictive rules after the soft fork activates. So the only way that we found to do this so far is to get block templates to signal, or get newly mined blocks to signal whether they're ready to activate these soft forks. And the unfortunate result of this is that mining pools have sort of an opportunity to spike the ball during soft fork activation. And it works like this. The mining pool just signals that they're going to run the new, more constrictive rules after the soft fork activates, and then they rug pull us. They don't run those rules. They create a chain fork. The value of Bitcoin crashes. Let's be clear, though, this doesn't kill Bitcoin. Bitcoin can't die. But it would crash the value of, ruin a lot of businesses. It would be bad news for a lot of Bitcoiners, especially Bitcoiners like me that live on a Bitcoin standard. My livelihood would be taken away, and I'd have to go get another fiat job. That would suck. In my opinion, this is an unacceptable risk. In my personal opinion, I don't think we should attempt any soft fork activations until we see material progress on mining pool centralization. But, well, that's why I decided to work on this, because it's too important. I don't think we can afford to fuck this up. So let's talk about the state of Bitcoin software. I really appreciate the metaphor of Bitcoin as a tree. It makes a lot of implicit sense if you think about it. The roots are the miners of the tree. They take real-world resources and funnel them into the trunk of the tree, which is the blockchain. A new block comes out every 10 minutes. And those blocks sort of flow up and flower into the leaves of the tree, which you can think of as the UTXO set. So new leaves bud, grow, and die as Bitcoiners send transactions, and the UTXO set gets cycled through. This is the productive activity that allows us to use Bitcoin as a form of money. So this is the real value, is the leaves. So let's talk about the state of the health of this tree. The leaves, the UTXOs, are expressed through the wallet software that we choose to run. The good news is there are a plurality of options of wallet software. Many of them are free, open source, and self-hostable. Some of them are closed source, some of them are custodial, but I think overall this is a healthy network because we can choose to be self-custodial if we want to. Bitcoiners can be self-sovereign through some of these options. The blockchain is expressed through the node software we choose to run, and right now there's really only one choice, bitcoind. Fortunately, it is free, open source, and self-hostable as well. Side note, there is a project in Bitcoin Core called libbitcoin kernel that promises to enable more diverse kinds of Bitcoin nodes with the same security guarantees as Bitcoind. So I'm really looking forward to that. But overall, I would say the trunk of the tree is healthy right now. The miners, the roots, it's not so rosy. There's two aspects to mining. There's limited options. Today, there are only two mining ASIC supply chains right now. There's Bitmain and there's what's their company called? They make ASICs as well. Fortunately, and neither of those is really free and open source, I think. But FOSS miners are coming, and they're coming, fortunately, from the ground up and from the top down. We've got BitX. I'm a huge BitX fan. Grassroots, open source mining hardware. Very proud of those guys, very bullish on BitX. And from the top down, we've got Block. They are spinning up, investing billions in a new open source and free ASIC supply chain. This is the most important project in Bitcoin right now, in my opinion. But I'm not a hardware developer, I'm a software developer. So let's talk about the mining pool situation. Again, there's a plurality of options. None of them are free, open source, and self-hostable. This is not good news. But again, we've got some promise. There's light at the end of the tunnel. The Stratum v2 spec has been in the works for years, and the Stratum reference implementation is getting there. It's not quite ready yet, but it's coming. This, I think, is where we can focus and try to solve some of these mining pool centralization problems. And this is what I want to focus on. Mining pools are inefficient markets because hash rate is not fungible. Modern mining requires you to create a pool account. The mining pool uses this account to keep track of all your shares and calculate your payouts. These shares are not transferable between mining pools. So we have a walled garden situation here. In addition, mining pools have minimum payout thresholds. This limits the practical minimum hash rate that you can use to contribute to these pools. If anybody runs a BitX and tries to mine on a traditional pool, you know what I'm talking about. I run my BitX against Ocean. I'm a big fan of Ocean, but I earn like 50 sats a day or something. It's going to take like 6,000 years for me to afford a Coinbase payout. This is just not practical. Selling hash rate requires you to reconfigure your miners. You can do this either directly in the firmware or through a proxy server. But unfortunately, this is a significant technical barrier for most miners, particularly large-scale industrial miners. They've got a lot of problems on their plate. They have to worry about like site hosting, electrical contracts, acquiring hardware, repairing it. By and large, they're not that interested in picking a mining pool. They want the highest profit and the most steady payout. And additionally, if you want to resell your hash rate, there's not very many marketplaces to choose from. There's basically NiceHash, and that's it. NiceHash is great. I love NiceHash. And this is Google search project where if you want to buy a scam token, you can use that to resell your hash rate. I don't consider that a practical option, though. In addition, there are abundant regulatory hurdles. So who regulates hash rate? Is it a security, a commodity, a derivative? What about taxes? Unfortunately, we are not going to get clarity on any of these questions because the state is actively hostile towards Bitcoin. Modern governments are funded by signerage, aka the profit from money printing, and they're run by cantillionaires. Solutions to our problems, only obstacles. So the inescapable conclusion to me is we have to solve our own problems. So how do we solve these problems? Cypherpunks can fix this. We're going to build our own mining pool with SV2 and Ecash. SV2 enables free and open source pool and proxy software and block template selection. Ecash enables accountless mining pools and tradable mining shares. And Nostr enables decentralized identity and mint discovery. So with our powers combined, we can build private, free, and unstoppable Bitcoin hash rate markets. Let's fucking go. So how does it work? The pool issues an Ecash token for each mining share that's submitted. We're going to call this eHash to distinguish it from Ecash. We're going to use the Ecash epochs to approximate the age of shares. So if you're not familiar, an Ecash epoch is the time in between key set rotations. And the reason for this is that we can't expire individual eHash shares. So we're going to use key rotation to create time buckets and expire those time buckets in order to approximate the FIFO ordering of mining pool shares. And I'll get into this a lot a little bit later. And lastly, we're going to publish verification proofs for each Ecash epoch and each block found. If you have read Callie's proof of liabilities protocol, it's incredible. It was great inspiration for this work. Definitely go do that. I'll share references after if you're interested. But this is how we prove the Ecash was not inflated and everything was done fairly. And the other aspect, I'm calling it proof of work. I don't know if that's a good name. Maybe I'll change it. But essentially, we're going to publish the block templates, the headers, and the nonces that were used to produce each of these mining shares. And lastly, we need to use PPLNS payouts to ensure it's the most fair form of payouts. So, and while I was putting these slides together and developing this idea, I found that a major difficulty was explaining mining pool payouts. There seems to be a vast gulf in understanding between Bitcoin developers and how mining pools operate. So we're going to spend a little time explaining PPLNS payouts. So it stands for pay per last in shares. It was the earliest form of pooled mining. And the idea is pretty simple. Miners get paid directly from the block reward. Simple in concept, at least, not so much in execution. But so what features does this enable? Well, the miner assumes all of the payout variance or all of the risk in this kind of mining. The pool does not assume any of this risk. But what this means, the second order effect, is that the pool does not require upfront capital to operate. And I think this is going to be crucial if we want self-hosted mining. We can't have mining pools need to invest their own personal finances. That's not going to scale very well. Today, unfortunately, all major mining pools use FPPS. The pro of FPPS is that the miners get more stable payouts. The cons are many. It's not verifiable. It's not, oh, we got a little lag here. Not trustless, and it creates massive centralization pressure, as we saw in the first slide. So how does PPLNS work and why? Well, originally, the first approach to paying out miners from the Coinbase reward is a payout mechanism called proportional. And the way this works is every time the pool finds a block, it starts over counting shares from 0. And it simply waits until the next block is found and divides the Coinbase reward by the total number of shares. Pretty simple. Unfortunately, it causes problems in the real world because of share dilution. So the first shares that are issued after a new block is found are worth more than later on, because as shares keep getting added, the denominator grows, the individual payout per share decreases. What this means in practice is that miners arbitrage pools. This is called pool hopping. So when a block is found on a proportional mining pool, a bunch of miners jump on board, mine those early shares that are valuable, and if the pool finds another block quickly, they get a big payout. If the pool doesn't find a block quickly, they fuck off and go to another pool. This results in very large swings in hash rate. It's very destabilizing for the pool and bad in general. So the solution is PPLNS, and the way this works is we amortize share payouts over a time window. This has a couple of implications. Interestingly, shares can pay out multiple times or 0 times if the pool is unlucky in this time window and doesn't find any blocks. The share value is calculated each time a block is found within this window. I've got some lag here. What's going on? Projected share payouts decrease over time as the window closes. So let's take a closer look at how this works. So here we have an example of a Hashpool PPLNS payout schedule. So the time periods here, these red lines, this step function, these are the projected value of a share over time. And the reason it's a step function is because we are rotating the key sets in order to expire these epochs one at a time. So we're going to use this to approximate the order, the order that these shares were issued. The projected share payout value decays over time, and yeah, whatever. Let's go through some examples. So if we issue a share at time 0 in this window, you notice there are 3 Bitcoin blocks found in this time window. That share gets paid out 3 times. If we issue a share at time period 5 in this graph, it only gets paid out for 1 block. But the good news is there are 5 more epochs off the end of the right side of this graph. So there's a potential to find more blocks at that time. The red line is time. Well, actually, on the x-axis, I'm still not sure. We can either measure in time or difficulty. Difficulty is measured by the basically how lucky each share is when it gets submitted to the pool. I think we'll probably go with difficulty, but I haven't gotten that far down the theory path yet. Additionally, we need to commit to the key set ID in the Coinbase. And the reason for this is that we need to prevent miners from submitting shares to multiple pools. This is essentially a way for a miner to cheat. They could mine to 2 pools at the same time. Mining pool needs to send out the Coinbase, specifically the Coinbase that miners can mine on. Even if miners are choosing their own block templates, they need to get the same Coinbase according to the pool. So we can use this to prevent fraud. After key rotation, after these key sets change, we commit to the new key set and a new block template that we send out to our miners. Let's look at the hash pool architecture. So on the miner side, these blue machines are ASICs, clearly. The miner is also going to run a stratum proxy, what's called in SV2 parlance, this is called a translator proxy. So it speaks stratum v1, which the ASICs speak natively. Most of them. Newer ones speak stratum v2, but we're going to bundle the stratum proxy with a cashew wallet. In addition, we're going to have an auditor role. This is a new project. This is just kind of being scoped out today in stratum v2. This is going to verify the proofs that the pool publishes. On the pool side, we've got a SV2 pool role bundled up with a cashew mint. How does it work? Well, there's 3 critical flows. First, we need ehash issuance. So the pool is going to accept a mining share and return an ehash token. The miner stores this token in their wallet, and critically for verification, they're going to save all of the data, the proofs from the Ecash token and the mining shares. While the share payout window is open, that's this red step function we looked at earlier, the pool is going to perform ehash swaps. And there's 2 big reasons for this. We need to limit the amount of data that, there we go. Every time I look backwards, it loads there. All right, we need to limit the amount of data storage and bandwidth spikes. So when redemptions occur, and the way to think about this is we're rolling up the small ehash denominations into larger denominations. Just like you don't want to carry around a fat wad of $1 bills in your wallet, you're going to have back problems and stuff. You want to carry one $20 bill instead of $21 bills. Same concept here. We don't want to send 20 tiny ehash denominations for redemptions. This also crucially enables trading. So you can trade your ehash shares to other parties during this window. And finally, we're going to close ehash swaps when the shares mature. And the reason for that is that once the share is fully mature, once that step function decays all the way down to 0, the Bitcoin value of those shares is fully determined. We now essentially have a stable coin locked to the value of Bitcoin. We're not in the business of trading stable coins. We want people to cycle out of those stable coins and cycle into Bitcoin Ecash. So we're going to close the swap window and issue redemptions, which is the second critical flow in Ecash. Typically, ehash is redeemed after maturity. Mature ehash has a redemption window, or a TTL. And this is kind of another concept I want to impart. There are 2 time windows involved here. So there's the maturity window, which is the step function where ehash tokens accrue value. And once they have finished accruing value, we close swaps and open the redemption window. This is another TTL. And the reason for that is that we need to publish verification proofs. So we want everybody to cycle out of their ehash tokens, and then we can release the proof of liabilities report and prove that the mint has operated fairly. If the eHash tokens are not redeemed in time, the pool can claim the rewards back for themselves. Honestly, this is a business decision. Probably a smart thing for the pool to do would be to hold on to those rewards and maybe be nice to the users who didn't follow the rules, but that's up to the pool operator to decide. Critically, eHash can only be paid out one time. So what this means is that if a token is redeemed early in the redemption window before it's accrued all of its value, then that owner of the token forfeits all potential future rewards. The good news is that those rewards just get distributed to the other eHash holders, or the other people who submitted mining shares. That denominator, we just -1 from that denominator, and the other people get a little bit more Coinbase from that. And the final flow is verification. So for there's 2 steps here. For each block the pool finds, we're going to publish the proof of work, which consists of the block templates, headers, and nonce data that was used to create those mining shares. And for each time an eHash redemption window closes, so this is when we cycle the key set. We've already closed out all of the what did I call it? The step function, the red step function. Then the second TTL is also timed by key set rotations. So when the TTL expires, we're going to publish all of the data for that epoch. This is when we stopped issuing redemptions. We're going to publish a Merkle sum tree of the issued and redeemed Ecash tokens. These are the burn proofs and the mint proofs in the proof of liabilities protocol. So I know what some of you might be thinking at this point. You might be thinking, Evan, bootstrapping a mining pool is really hard. Are we going to be able to do this on Umbrel servers? Is there something we can do to make it easier? Yes. I'm calling it the pass-through hash pool construction. So we don't actually have to run our own mining pool in order to run a hash pool. We can piggyback on top of any existing PPLNS pool. Fortunately, there is still one PPLNS pool left standing, Ocean Mining. I'm a huge fan of Ocean. And honestly, they were an inspiration for this work as well. So big shout out to those guys. One thing I will point out is that the Stratum pool role is now a Stratum proxy role. So we've got proxies on proxies. It's like Yertle to Turtle. Here is the sequence diagram for issuance and redemption. Again, as you can see, the pool role is now a proxy role. Otherwise, it works mostly the same. There's a new upstream pool. So when the hash pool receives a valid share, they're going to submit that upstream to the mining pool. On the redemption side, when the hash pool first starts up, they're going to create an account with the PPLNS pool and then receive payouts. When the pool finds a block, the hash pool will receive a payout from the upstream mining pool, and they will just make payouts to their hashers from that. So what would people use hash pools for? Well, for miners, you can mine privately. There's no hash rate minimum. So you can finally have a pool where you can mine BitAx. You can mine with your BitAx, claim your rewards in your Ecash wallet, and no one anywhere in the world will even know what's going on because it's all done privately. You can also get immediate liquidity for a price. You can sell your eHash tokens to someone else who wants to take on the risk of that maturity window. But this is going to come at a discount. So just like FPPS pools pay their miners at a discount from the expected value of those shares, we can do the same thing, but in a free market way. Also, and personally for me, I like this one, it is a DIY mining pool option. I like to do stuff myself. I got an Umbrel, I've got a BitAx. I would like to run my own mining pool, but the only realistic option right now is a solo pool, and they functionally never pay out. I'll be dead before I win a block. But with a hash pool, I can run my own pool, and I don't have to worry about dying before it pays out. For large pools, they can easily do simulated FPPS. It's pretty simple. They just buy the eHash back from the miners for a fixed price and assume that risk of payouts. This is great for mining pool privacy, so the mining pool can now keep their rewards secret. No one knows how much the mining pool is earning because it's not like publicly doxed. Also, hash rate verification is a pretty big deal for mining pools. I talked to the research director at Foundry, and he says his miners come up to him all the time and say, hey, my statistics on my side say that we produced this many hashes, but why didn't this one pay out? Why didn't that one pay out? Why don't our numbers match up? So they spend a significant amount of time like going over the numbers and trying to convince their miners that they're being paid fairly. You don't have to do that if you can automate the publishing of reports. And finally, large pools can escape the mining pool monopoly trap. So mining pools seem to be stuck in this local maximum where the large pools, just like in the banking industry, the large pools gobble up the smaller pools. The whole industry centralizes. So large mining pools can get out of this trap. For savers, they can buy future sats at a discount. So they just take the other side of this trade, this immediate liquidity trade for the miners. They assume a little risk for a larger expected payout in time. And sometimes that risk will pay out and sometimes it won't. They can buy, this is a little bit more far future. This is not going to be in version 1, but I would really like to get to miners, or anyone actually, being able to buy non-custodial Coinbase outputs, which would be fantastic for privacy. I would love to have a way to stack sats in my cold storage wallet that have in UTXO form with absolutely no transaction history whatsoever. This would be phenomenal for privacy. And also, I think it'd be great for innovation. This is a functionality that has not existed on Bitcoin for basically since ASICs were invented. The plebs just can't access Coinbase outputs. So what happens when they can? I don't know. Somebody's going to come up with some brilliant idea and blow my mind, and I can't wait for that to happen. And for all Bitcoiners, we get a stronger, more decentralized, resilient, and secure foundation to enable the best and most free form of money ever invented to thrive for generations. So what's left to build? Well, there's a lot. This is just an idea phase. Payout calculations, it's going to be complicated. You have to deal with all these tranches of eHash tokens. There's going to be a lot of edge cases I still have to figure out. But I think there is room for innovation here too. One of the weaknesses of mining pools is that they're vulnerable to what's called a block withholding attack. So this works like if a pool is antagonistic or a miner is antagonistic towards a pool, they can mine to that pool and just never submit the winning block template or never submit the winning share. So if they actually find a Bitcoin block, just don't send that one upstream. This is a costly attack to pull off on a PPLNS pool. It costs the attacker an amount equal to the amount of hash rate that they contribute to the pool. But I think we can put our thumb on the scale in a way that's fair to everyone by paying out a little bonus to the winning share. So if you actually do manage to find a block on a hash pool, maybe you get a little bit extra, 1% more of the Coinbase output or something like this. So we can tip the scales against attackers in this way. I would love to explore this idea a little more, but it's like not foundational to the protocol. Also, and crucially, we're going to need eHash marketplaces. So as far as I know, eHash is the first Ecash asset that's not pegged to a larger currency. So what this means is that we need a market for price discovery. We want to enable atomic swaps so that we can pay out eHash for Ecash, Lightning, stablecoins, whatever currency you would like to accept. And crucially, this is going to be an on-ramp and an off-ramp to Bitcoin. And as anybody knows who has taken a cursory look at the headlines lately, enemies of Bitcoin like to attack the on-ramps and the off-ramps. So we really want to prioritize privacy and security when we build these marketplaces. Seems like a good job for Nostr, maybe. Hashrate verification. Publishing Ecash and mining share proofs is still largely an unsolved problem. There is some work in Stratum v2 project in this area, and I'm very happy to see that other people are taking up this and working on it because it kind of validates this idea. Also, Coinbase payouts. I think the way we want to do this, we just use NUT11. This is a pay-to-pub key eHash protocol. We just lock your eHash to a pub key, and we interpret that pub key as an address on the Bitcoin blockchain and include a payout to that address in the Coinbase output. Again, there's a lot of like details to work out, but I think in general this concept might just work. Also, and I have no idea how this is going to work, I think we need a Hashpool transaction accelerator. So if someone wants to pay a miner to mine on a particular block template, maybe include a transaction, or maybe they want to rip a 4 mega JPEG into the blockchain. I don't really care. There should be a market for that. There should be a way to pay miners to do this. And lastly, Fediment. Fediment is going to be a huge deal because if you think about it, the hash pool is custodying these Coinbase rewards for the entire maturity period. If you manage to get a hash pool up and running, doing significant volume, you're going to want to federate that custody model with multi-sig guardians like a Fediment. Unfortunately, Fediment can't support issuance today. The Fediment protocol does not support multi-asset Ecash. They only have Bitcoin-backed Ecash. But we can do redemptions in Fediment because those are in Bitcoin. So ideally, Fediment would, in some future versions, support multiple Ecash assets. But even if they don't, we can build a Fediment redemptions today. It's going to be a little ugly, but it's possible. My handle is vnprc. I'm on Nostr, I'm on GitHub, and I run a BitDev. So if you come through North Carolina, maybe have a layer of it at RDU, you know, hit me up, slide into my DMs. I love it when Bitcoiners come to my meetup. Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
One thing that I'm a bit skeptical about is the block withholding attack. You said it's a problem, but then, like you said, like kind of your suggestion would be to tip the scale against them. But then you also say that miners would be able to trade the eHash before they actually get a payout. And so, like, if you are a miner who wants to do a withholding attack, if you sell your eHash beforehand, like I think tipping the scale doesn't really work anymore because everyone can sell their eHash before there's any payout, then you kind of like this tipping the scale is working against everyone in the same sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Also, if you do have the winning block, you get an eHash token that is disassociated from that particular share. Well, like I said, it's future work. I'm still thinking about it. Thank you for the feedback. I'll have to take that under advisement.
Could you explain maybe in more depth why you have the epoch system for the payouts? I understand the sort of like moving to a new pool as soon as it's mined a block in terms of expectation, right? Like it's all the shares are worth the same and it's memoryless, but you theoretically, if that pool got lucky again quickly, get more per hash than you would if they get very unlucky. But why like this sort of discrete system as opposed to some more general amortization?
Good question. So in PPLNS as it exists today, shares operate on a FIFO basis. So we actually have a strict ordering of when each share was submitted, and they expire in that same basis. This just doesn't work for Ecash because Ecash implicitly cannot store any state. eHash tokens are fungible. In addition, you can split and join tokens. So there's not this one-to-one relation between shares and Ecash tokens. So instead, we have to simulate this order by creating these timed buckets and expiring the buckets, an entire bucket at a time, instead of one share at a time. Does that make sense?
I guess my question is like all the shares are worth the same, right? Like at some point the block is mined and then the payout, like if you have we're not paying until the block is mined system, right? Like every share is related to the same amount of hash power. So proportionally it would be the same. Obviously, again, your expected value when you do that hashing is higher theoretically the shorter the time is until the next time the pool mines the block, but the like actual work that was performed is not different.
Shares are not, shares actually do have a denomination. It's called difficulty. It's essentially how many 0 bits are at the front of your hash output.
Sure, but should they not be such that like you would have comparable shares for comparable effort?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you offline.
Okay, yeah, offline. Any other questions in the back?
Thanks for the great presentation. At the start, you said about the soft forks. So let's say, I mean, I did not get the point. So let's say the miners say that they want to do the soft fork and also the nodes update to the new soft fork. And if the miners then go back to the and not do the soft fork anymore, then the blocks will be rejected, right?
In that situation, you will have a chain fork. And if you have a mining pool with significant hash rate, like 30% of the hash rate, like the two largest mining pools, which are both domiciled within superpower nations, you have a chain fork. This would be very damaging to the Bitcoin blockchain because the mining pool would keep mining blocks. Users are very confused. Where are your transactions at? You've got all sorts of issues in a blockchain fork situation. This is damaging to sort of the whole Bitcoin ecosystem.
Okay, so you mean some nodes will accept, so the nodes which not updated yet accept the blocks and others who updated don't accept the block?
The nodes that are running the new consensus algorithms would be on the soft fork chain, but the block producers are producing blocks that are no longer valid on that chain. So all of the nodes that are running the old rules get forked off.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Why would you redeem on private Bitcoin instead of redeeming into Bitcoin-denominated Ecash?
Are you talking about on-chain Bitcoin?
No, I'm talking about Bitcoin-denominated Ecash in another mint.
In another mint? Like a mint that's not operated by the mining pool?
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do whatever you want. You can redeem in... well, so when the...
No, you were concerned with redeeming the rewards into actual L1 Bitcoin, right?
On-chain.
Yep.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Why?
Stacked straight into your cold storage wallet.
Okay, get it.
Thank you for your presentation. That was interesting. Have you looked into the lately the developments around solving for the block withholding attacks, or like are there any soft forks or hard forks proposals that have any traction to solve that? To basically have like pre-committed shares or something like that?
I have not looked deeply into those proposals, but if you want to talk offline, I absolutely would like to do that. Nobody's going to ask me about datum? No? Any other questions?